Good morning. Thank you for joining the Region 10 Education Service Center Special Revenue Services team in our Title I Part A Comparability of Services webinar. We have with us today
Becky Book
and Lauren McKinney. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to use this as a resource in completing this requirement. So for our agenda, we're going to provide a welcome. So thank you for joining us. Welcome. The next thing we have coming up is going to be the TEA's Title I Part A Comparability of Services PowerPoint, followed by a Comparability Assurance Document Survey, which we will offer about halfway through. One of our LEAs has been gracious enough to allow us to show their survey being completed, so we want to thank the Gunter ISD for that. Then we'll start to wrap up with potential consequences of failure to comply, some resources, and then close out with our contact information. Now, as an FYI, we did download the TEA's Title I Part A Comparability of Services PowerPoint from their website. We downloaded it again this morning to make sure we had the most recent and up-to-date version. But as you go through it, you will hear her give reference to the old Nickleby legislation. And we are aware, obviously, that we're under ESSA. So in lieu of the Public Law 110 that she mentions, just know we're in ESSA, so it is Public Law 114-95. But beyond that, the rest of the information is accurate. So we saw the value in still sharing this PowerPoint with you. So that's it from us for a few minutes. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Title I Part A Comparability of Services presentation from TEA's Division of Federal Fiscal Compliance and Reporting. This presentation discusses the Title I Part A Comparability of Services requirement and explains your responsibility for meeting that requirement. This presentation defines the Title I Part A Comparability of Services requirement, describes what it means to be an exempt LEA, describes and illustrates exemption criteria, shows examples of TEA's Standardized Comparability Assurance Document, or CAD, completed for exempt and non-exempt LEAs, defines what it means to be a non-exempt LEA, and describes how non-exempt LEAs must plan for comparability testing. This presentation also describes grade span grouping considerations when non-exempt LEAs conduct comparability testing, information for non-exempt LEAs about completing TEA's Standardized Comparability Computation Form, or CCF, review of CCF test results, and the secure application LEAs use to submit the CAD and the CCF to TEA. Background. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, or NCLB Public Law 107-110, Section 1120AC, requires that campuses receiving Title I Part A funding must receive the same level of services through state and local funds as campuses that are not receiving Title I Part A funding. If the local education agency serves all of its campuses with Title I Part A funding, the LEA must provide services with state and local funds that, taken as a whole, are substantially comparable in each Title I Part A campus. Also, in meeting the comparability of services requirement, if you elect not to serve or skip an eligible campus, you must demonstrate that the skip campus receives the same level of services through state and local funds, just as if the campus were receiving Title I Part A funding. This requirement is referenced in NCLB Public Law 107-110, Section 1131B1D. A skipped campus is an eligible campus that is not served with Title I Part A grant funds and meets one of the following criteria. Its low-income poverty percentage is 75% or greater, or its low-income poverty percentage is higher than another campus within its grade span that is being served by Title I Part A grant funds. What does it mean to be exempt? An exempt LEA is not required to conduct comparability of services testing because it meets at least one exemption criteria. Even though the LEA is exempt from conducting comparability testing, the LEA must still establish and implement 1. An LEA-wide salary schedule, 2. A policy to ensure equal resources among schools in teachers, administrators, and other staff, and 3. A policy to ensure equal resources among schools in the provision of curriculum materials and instructional supplies. An exempt LEA is required to complete and submit TEA standardized to CAD. LEAs that meet one of the following 5 exemption criteria are exempt from comparability testing. 1. No Title I Part A funding. 2. One campus per grade span group. 3. Multiple campuses in the grade span group, yet no overlap of grade levels. 4. Overlap of grade levels, but no Title I Part A or skipped campuses in the grade span group. 5. Excluding a campus or campuses results in no basis for comparison. The next few slides provide examples of the exemption criteria. 1 campus per grade span group. An LEA that receives Title I Part A funds is exempt from comparability testing if it has only 1 campus per grade span group. That is, 1 campus that serves elementary grades, 1 campus that serves middle school grades, and 1 campus that serves high school grades. This example shows an LEA that is exempt because it has only 1 campus per grade span group. The exempt LEA is required to complete and submit TEA standardized CAD to claim its exemption status. Multiple campuses in the grade span group, yet no overlap of grade levels. An LEA that receives Title I Part A funds is exempt from comparability testing if it has multiple campuses in the grade span group, yet no overlap of grade levels. In this example, the LEA has multiple campuses serving the elementary grade span group with no overlap of grades. A PK through 1st elementary campus, a 2nd and 3rd elementary campus, and a 4th through 5th elementary campus. Even though all the LEA's elementary campuses receive Title I Part A funding, the LEA is exempt from comparability testing for this grade span group because there is no overlap in grades and thus no basis for comparison. Also, because of the 1 campus per grade span exemption, the LEA is exempt from comparability testing for the 6th through 8th grade span group, 1 middle school campus, and the 9 through 12 high school grade span, 1 high school campus. Note that an overlap of grades within a grade span group makes the LEA subject to comparability testing. If in this example, the 1st elementary school campus served grades PK through 2nd, the LEA would have to conduct comparability testing for both of the campuses that serve grade 2. The LEA would exclude the 3rd elementary campus from testing. If the 1st campus served grades PK through 4, the LEA would have to conduct comparability testing on all elementary school campuses. Again, the exempt LEA is required to complete and submit TEA standardized CAD to claim its exemption status. Overlap of grade levels but no Title I Part A campuses in the grade span group. An LEA that receives Title I Part A funding and has multiple campuses in the same grade span group that serve overlapping grade levels is still exempt from comparability testing if none of the campuses in that grade span group receive Title I Part A funding, or if they are classified as skipped campuses. This example shows an LEA with multiple campuses in the middle school grade span group. Grades overlap among the campuses, but since neither campus receives Title I Part A funding or is classified as a skipped campus, the LEA does not conduct comparability testing for the middle school grade span group. Again, the exempt LEA is required to complete and submit TEA standardized CAD to claim its exemption status. Exclusion of campus or campuses results in no basis for comparison. TEA has defined flexibility options that exclude certain campuses from comparability testing. It is possible that after excluding campuses in accordance with those flexibility options, an LEA may be left with the following: one campus per grade span group, or multiple campuses in the grade span group, yet no overlap of grade levels, or no Title I Part A campuses in the grade span. In any of those cases, the LEA would have no basis for conducting comparability testing. Therefore, the LEA would be exempt from the testing requirement. The following flexibility options permit an LEA to exclude a campus from comparability testing. A campus with an enrollment of fewer than 100 students may be excluded. In a grade span group consisting of 2 campuses with a significant difference in enrollment, that is, the enrollment of the larger campus is at least twice the enrollment of the smaller, both campuses may be excluded. Or in a grade span group consisting of more than 2 campuses, a campus may be excluded if the enrollment is less than half or at least twice the enrollment of the campus in the grade span group that is nearest in enrollment. Or a federally funded dedicated Head Start campus with no state and local funding may also be excluded. This example shows how excluding a campus or campuses could exempt an LEA from comparability testing. The elementary grade span group is excluded from comparability testing because there is no other campus in the grade span. The middle school grade span group is excluded from comparability testing because one of the LEA's 2 middle school campuses has an enrollment of fewer than 100. The high school grade span group is excluded from comparability testing because there's no other campus in the grade span. After excluding the middle school campus with an enrollment of fewer than 100 students, this LEA is left with only 1 campus per grade span, 1 elementary, 1 middle school, and 1 high school, making it exempt from the comparability testing requirement. For more examples of exemptions resulting from excluding a campus or campuses, review TEA's Title I Part A Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook. Again, the exempt LEA is required to complete and submit TEA's standardized CAD to claim its exemption status.
Okay, this is the Comparability Assurance Document Survey. You can find it, on TA's website, or this is kind of the beginning of what it looks like, and we're going to we put a shorter link. Hopefully it goes so that you could be able to get to it faster. This is what the SurveyMonkey looks like, and so it's completely different from what you had before. And the one thing that we want to really stress is that when you start filling it out, you need to print it, each page, because you don't have, once you hit submit, it's gone. You don't have access to it, you can't submit it. So we're going to fill this out. Gunter ISD and their county district number. So and Dr. Seiler is the main contact, the superintendent here. And looks like there's no dashes. And then we get down to the type of certification, and you have 2 choices. So if the previous slides, if you are able to claim an exemption, then you would click on the exempt. If you're not able to, you'd have to click on non-exempt, and that's it. You will have to complete the the CCF on the next slides. And so Gunter is exempt, and so I'm going to click on the exempt certification, and then remember we need to print it. And so I'm going to print, and it's working. So I'll wait till it gets through printing so that noise doesn't bother you. Okay, then we click on next. And remember, once you click on next, you can't go back. Okay, on this page, all we have to do is click the LEA is exempt because one of these reasons. Now, if you had picked the non-exempt, then this page would ask you what campus you are, what grade spans you are going to compare. So like if you're just comparing your elementary grade span, or if you're comparing your elementary and middle school, you would click those buttons there. So again, we're going to print. You can do Control P to bring up your print screen. Okay, and then it gives you some more information. The LA receiving Title I funds assures it has established and implemented the following. And so you have to have an LEA-wide salary schedule, a written policy to ensure equivalence among schools and teachers, administrators, and other staff, a written policy to ensure equivalence among schools in the provision of curriculum materials. So, you know, you're checking that you're saying you have that. And then name of authorized superintendent or charter school operating officer. And again, I almost forgot, do Control P for and print. And then you click done. And it just says thank you for completing our survey. And it, I would go ahead and print this just for your records in case, you know, something happens, because we don't get an email or anything saying that this survey was completed. And so I just want to make sure y'all have your records so that if TEA said you missed the deadline, that you can go and show that yet you didn't miss the deadline. You've got proof, because when you print the screen, things has a date on it. So then I'm done, and here's the comparability website. So we'll go back to the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions, feel free to call Lauren McKinney. She'll be glad to help you. I will too, but she's going to be the main contact on this. And then here's the shorter link that we provided. It's gg.gg/CAD, C-A-D 2017. Because the link that you get from TEA is a big, long thing.
Remember that all LEAs are required to complete and submit the CAD. What does it mean to be non-exempt? A non-exempt LEA is an LEA that does not meet the exemption criteria. In addition to the CAD, the LEA must also complete and submit TEA's standardized CCF. The LEA chooses one test. The LEA must choose one of the following 3 tests to show Title I Part A campuses and SCIP campuses receive the same level of services through state and local funds. Test 1, comparison of state and local expenditures per pupil. Test 2, comparison of per pupil expenditures for state and local base salaries. Or Test 3, ratio of pupils to non-federally funded instructional staff. The chosen test must be applied consistently across all grade span groups that require comparison. For instance, if the LEA must test the elementary and middle school grade span groups, all the Title I Part A campuses and SCIP campuses in both grade span groups must show a compliant result for these campuses using the same test, either Test 1, Test 2, or Test 3. The LEA cannot demonstrate compliance using different tests for the 2 grade span groups. An LEA demonstrates it meets the requirements of comparability on a grade span basis. To demonstrate compliance on a grade span basis, group your schools to match the basic organization of the LEA into elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. Note that the LEA may be eligible to further subdivide a grade span group into a high enrollment grade span group and a low enrollment grade span group. This flexibility option will be discussed in the section of this presentation titled Grade Span Grouping Considerations. Regardless of the test chosen, the LEA must gather total campus enrollment. The LEA has the flexibility to use total campus enrollment from any day during the current school year. However, the LEA must consistently use the same day for all the grade span groups when it reports the total campus enrollment in its comparison testing. Test 1, Comparison of State and Local Expenditures per Pupil. In addition to campus enrollment, for Test 1, the LEA also gathers the total amount of campus, state, and local expenditures. Refer to Appendix 2 of the Comparability Instructions, linked to the Title I, Part A, Comparability of Services Requirement page of the TEA website for a list of the fund codes, function codes, and object codes to include in calculating campus, state, and local expenditures. Test 2, Comparison of per pupil expenditures for state and local base salaries. In addition to campus enrollment, for Test 2, the LEA also gathers the amount of campus-based salaries for non-federal instructional staff. Refer to the Appendix 2 for a list of the role IDs used in calculating state and local base salaries. Also, ensure that staff salary differentials for years of employment are not included in calculating non-federal state and local salaries. The exclusion of staff salary differentials is cited in NCLB Section 1120A-C-2B. The citation states as follows, quote, "For the purpose of comparability and the determination of expenditures per pupil from state and local funds, or instructional salaries per pupil from state and local funds, staff salary differentials for years of employment shall not be included in such determinations," end quote. Base salaries are thus determined by excluding benefits, stipends, and merit increases. Test 3, Ratio of Pupils to Non-Federally Funded Instructional Staff. In addition to campus enrollment, for Test 3, the LEA also gathers the count of campus non-federal instructional staff full-time employees, or FTEs. Refer to Appendix 1 of the Title I, Part A Comparability Guidance Handbook for the definition and calculation of FTEs. Exclusions from CCF testing. The LEA has the flexibility to make certain exclusions in its comparability testing if it meets specific criteria. Exclusion of campus or campuses. As described in the section titled Exclusion of Campus or Campuses Results in No Basis for Comparison, an LEA may exclude a campus from comparability testing if it meets any of the following criteria. A campus with an enrollment of fewer than 100 students may be excluded. In a grade span group consisting of 2 campuses with a significant difference in enrollment, that is, the enrollment of the larger campus is at least twice the enrollment of the smaller, both campuses may be excluded. In a grade span group consisting of more than 2 campuses, a campus may be excluded if the enrollment is less than half or at least twice the enrollment of the campus in the grade span group that is nearest in enrollment. Or a federally funded dedicated Head Start campus with no state and local funding may also be excluded. Exclusion of supplemental state and local funds. Certain services are designed for specific students. Expenditures for those services could vary from campus to campus depending on the student populations. When testing for compliance with the comparability of services requirement, an LEA may exclude supplemental state and local funds expended for the following: language instruction educational programs, such as bilingual education for children with limited English proficiency, English as a second language, or ESL services, excess state and local costs of providing services to children with disabilities as determined by the LEA, state or local supplemental programs in any school attendance area or school meeting the intent and purposes of Title I, Part A. Exclusion of staff salary differentials. Again, a reminder that staff salary differentials for years of employment shall not be included in such comparability determinations. State and local base salaries are determined by excluding benefits, stipends, and merit increases. Subdivided grade span group, high and low enrollment. If an LEA has a grade span grouping with a substantial difference in enrollment between the largest and smallest campus, that is, if the largest campus has an enrollment of at least 2 times the enrollment of the smallest campus, the LEA may subdivide the grade span grouping into a high enrollment grouping and a low enrollment grouping. After the subdivision, there must be at least 2 campuses in both the high enrollment and low enrollment groups. For more information, please refer to the Subdivided Grade Span Group, High and Low Enrollment section of the Title I, Part A Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook. Campus overlaps grade span groups. If an LEA has a campus that overlaps grade span groups, that is, the campus serves grades from multiple grade span groups, and the majority of students belong in one of those grade span groups, the LEA should place the campus in the majority grade span group. For example, if the 5 through 12 campus has a total enrollment of 1,000 students, with 800 students in grades 9 through 12, 150 students in grades 6 through 8, and 50 students in grade 5, the campus should be placed within the high school grouping for testing because the majority of the 1,000 students are high school students. If the LEA placed the 5 through 12 campus with its elementary grade span grouping, it would not be an accurate representation of the campus. If populations are represented equally, the LEA has the discretion to choose the grouping for the campus. The CCF is an auto-calculating Excel form. Non-exempt LEAs are required to complete the CCF with the required data for compliance and submit it in Excel format through GFFC reports and data collections. The CCF includes the following tabs. Reminders. There's no data entry in the Reminders tab. The Reminders tab provides tips to help you complete the CCF. Testing tabs A through I. For each grade span group you are testing, enter data into one of the testing tabs to test the campuses for comparability. Excluded campuses. Some campuses meeting specific criteria may be excluded from the grade span comparability test. For example, a campus with an enrollment of fewer than 100 students may be excluded. Please refer to the Title I, Part A Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook, posted on the Title I, Part A Comparability of Services Requirement page of the TEA website for campus exclusion criteria. The LEA must account for all campuses of the grade span. Thus, if a grade span is tested and one of the campuses in the grade span is eligible for exclusion, the LEA must report the excluded campus on the Excluded Campuses tab. For each grade span group you are testing, complete the following areas. Grade span group selection, individual campus information, which requires the following: 3-digit campus number and the campus name, campus status. Title I, Part A and skipped campuses are indicated with a Y. Leave space blank if the campus does not receive Title I, Part A funds. Campus enrollment. You may use enrollment figures from any day during the current school year, but you must use enrollment figures consistently from the same day for all of your campuses. Test input data. You may enter state and local data for any or all of the 3 tests in the test input section of the CCF. However, please be reminded that you must use only one test to demonstrate that the Title I, Part A and skipped campuses, that is, those campuses marked with a Y, are compliant across all grade span groups tested. Test results in A or B sections. The CCF includes a section that provides the comparability test results. The The CCF automatically calculates test results that appear in either the A or B section. Test results in the A section appear for grade span groups that compare Title I Part A and SCIP campuses to non-Title I Part A campuses. To achieve a compliant result, the LEA's expenditures at the Title I Part A campuses and SCIP campuses must equal at least 90% of the expenditures at the non-Title I Part A campuses. Compliant results appear as a yes in this section. Non-compliant results are indicated as NC. Test results in the B section appear for grade span groups with all Title I Part A and SCIP campuses. To achieve a compliant result, the LEA's expenditures per campus must equal at least 90% and no more than 110% of average expenditures for all campuses in the grade span group. Compliant results appear as a percentage within the range of 90 to 110%. Non-compliant results show a percentage outside the 90 to 110% range. Please follow the steps above to submit your comparability documents. Submit the CAD in PDF format and the CCF in Excel format. This concludes the presentation on the Title I Part A Comparability of Services requirement. Refer to the Title I Part A Comparability of Services requirement page of the TEA website for resources, including the Title I Part A Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook, comparability instructions, and links to federal guidance such as the USDE's non-regulatory guidance. If you have any questions, please email to compliance@tea.texas.gov or call 512-463-9127.
Okay, so as a reminder, there were a couple of legislative or statute corrections as we started off letting you guys know prior to us actually showing the Title I Part A comparability PowerPoint that is provided to us by the agency via their website. And we're aware of it, but again, barring those statute changes and the fact that now the CAD is done through a survey instead of that Excel document, the rest of the information was valid and correct, so we saw the value in sharing it with you guys. So prior to us going into our formal closing, we did want to just remind you of potential consequences for failure to actually comply with submitting these documents. So this was outlined in a TAA released by the agency on October 25th, 2017. If you want to see the full thing, we advise you to go back and read that. But just a couple of high points from it. If you choose, unfortunately, to fail to submit your documents by November 30th, which is the deadline, any of the following that you see on the screen may be a potential or possible consequence for failing to do so. The first one you see here is temporarily withholding cash payments pending correction of the deficiency or more severe enforcement action. Possibility number 2, disallowing of all or part of the cost of an activity or action not in compliance. Option 3, wholly or partly suspending or terminating your entire federal award. Option 4, initiating suspension or debarment proceedings. Potential consequence 5, withholding further federal awards for the program. And rounding us out here, number 6, potential consequence for failing to comply, take other remedies that may be legally available. So as you can imagine, none of us want any of these things to happen to us or to you. So please make sure that you are completing all required and applicable documents on time by November 30th, 2017. Now, if you had further questions, and this was actually just shown a few minutes ago by the Title I Part A TEA portion of it, but please feel free to reach out to first line of defense, should be us here at Region 10. So you can reach out to myself, Lauren McKinney, or Becky Book, or Jodelle Bland. Second line of defense would be the compliance email address that you see there on the screen at the TEA. Just as a reminder again, All deadlines for this, all LEAs must complete and submit your CAD via online survey by November 30th, 2017. That's CCF, if that's applicable to you, also required to be submitted by November 30th, 2017. If you don't meet any of the allowable exemption criteria, you still also have to complete that CCF and submit it through the report system by November 30th, 2017. So either way it goes, you're not getting around submitting something. If you have any additional questions about it, let us know, but please have that date solidified in your calendars, November 30th, 2017. So a couple of resources really quickly before we close out our time. The Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook is updated. It was updated, they just recently finished it. So as of October 2017, it is on the TEA's website, and that's going to be the Title I Part A Comparability of Services Guidance Handbook that was referenced in the PowerPoint that we showed you earlier, and that is available on the TEA's website. So if you go to their website, tea.texas.gov, it is an insanely long link. So we're just going to tell you to go to the Finance and Grants section, specifically the Federal Fiscal Compliance and Reporting section. So you'll see it in there. But again, if you have any questions and need help with accessing the guidebook or completing the CCF or your CAD, let us know. As far as additional questions that you may have for us, our contact information, as well as our website, is region10.org/Title I. Once you're on there, you'll see all of the upcoming events that we have. You'll see an opportunity to reach out to us directly via phone and or email. And closing that out, we don't have any comment FAQs, but we did want to remind you once again that the CAD is different this year. As Becky demonstrated earlier, as a last reminder, make sure that you are printing per screen with that survey, because once you click enter or next or submit, you cannot go back and see what your previous typings were. So once it's in there and you type everything in for that page, please, please, please print it, so that when you're done, you have an actual hard copy that's date stamped with, this is when you actually completed your CAD. As always, we here at the Region 10 ESC are available to be of additional service to you. Our contact information, again, is there on the screen. Should you have any further questions or need further assistance going forward with this requirement, please do not hesitate to let us know. Thank you very much for your time, and we hope you have an awesome rest of your day.